Well, I say every day it's a getting closer to taking a bath with my fucking toaster.
We're not qualified.
Who are you?
Explorers in the further regions of experience.
If you do not listen to me,
Then the hell with you.
Hey, sorry for disappearing.
During the intro video, kid, really?
I didn't realize you had gone live. Mobile
Greetings.
doesn't show you the intro. It doesn't show
Yeah,
you the
yeah.
intro.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the 121st episode of Screaming Into the Void. Almost got the fucking title wrong. My name is Samuel the Infamous, and this is the show where we talk about whatever the hell we feel like, and we're going to get into
are
it a little
you
bit.
sure?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. And by we, I mean me. Joining me today is Caucasian Sasquatch and Shadow of the Hawk.
Howdy, everyone. Sorry for interrupting Sam's amazing intro. I'm on mobile, and it doesn't let you know that the intro's going while you're on mobile.
Yeah, okay. That's a convenient excuse.
It may be convenient, but it's what happened.
Whatever it takes to help you sleep at night, brother. I don't mind.
See, I don't
All
sleep
right,
very
all
well
right.
anyway. So,
Good man.
Well, I mean, who does? Like, you know, what they say, sleep is for the dead, right?
Follow for the weak and then the dead.
aren't the dead weak? Aren't the dead weak, and that's what let them die?
No, they're just lazy.
Hold up. They'll get up one day. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Even Revelations eventually talked about them
She
getting
said, I
up.
read this book one
getting
time
active
about
again.
it. It was an absolute hitter.
All right. We're going to say hello to the chat real quick, and then we will get on into it. First up, we got Lawrence Knight. Then we have over on Sasquatch's channel, Ben T. Welcome in. Ryan, Legion Games 2076. Hello, my man. American 101. Hello. JB, good to see you. We have Divided Kingdom with us. And actually, Cal, if it's not too late, I might throw you a link because the number one topic actually concerns your country. Queen Bird, welcome in. Hello. Over on the Rumble side, we've got Andy Pickle. How you doing, my man? I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly. Is that just Cane Corso, Mom?
It's Connie Corso, Mom.
Okay. Well, welcome in.
Wait, is
We
that
also
just a
have
weird name in Corso?
It's just, yeah, using different, I guess, variants on letters to spell out something in English, yeah. We also have Caucasian Sasquatch. He's up on the channel for us. All right, yeah, dude, I'll send you that link here in just a moment. So whatever works. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. So we took last week off. I had some personal stuff I needed to take care of, and I just didn't have enough time in the day to do all of that. Yeah, that too. If I had a toaster, man, we might not be here now.
Aww.
That was a joke.
Oh,
Joke. We're starting off strong though, right out of the gate. Not even 5 minutes into the show, and I'm already making self-deletion jokes.
I mean, those are the best kind of jokes, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm a terrible person. It's fine.
Vaguely.
Yeah. So, but we have a little bit of news. There's a little bit of some more information on a topic I know Sasquatch can't wait to talk more about. Because he's been so friendly with me about it in the past. Did Sasquatch freeze? Are you frozen, dude?
Oh, he's gone.
Oh, well,
Ed's got him.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he'll be back. Hopefully he'll be back in time to talk about consciousness and brain organoids. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't me this time. Knock on wood. You know,
Yeah,
hopefully it isn't.
I'm guessing that personal shit was getting your shitternet fixed.
No, that personal shit was like errands and family stuff.
Mm,
You know, only so many hours in the day, man.
that's
So,
true. That's absolutely true.
while we wait for me to get my slow ass in gear and get Cal the link here, because you know I'm so fucking good at this stuff. Multitasking. This is why I need Gal here. She's on fucking vacation. It's annoying.
I can kind of sort of multitask.
Yeah. Well, you're Gen Z. You guys have like zero ability to focus on one thing at a time anyway.
That's 100% accurate. What's your point?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's multitask. The problem with multitasking is that you're dividing your attention, right? When you divide your attention, you're not really giving 100% on any one thing. You're giving partial percent on a bunch of things, and everything suffers in terms of
Yes.
quality.
I've had this explained to me by my mother multiple times, and seeing as she is a nurse and I am not, I can't exactly tell her she's wrong. Also, she's my mother.
So tis what it is. We're all here. We're all gathered around. So I guess the first thing that I want to bring up, and I'm hoping Cal will be in here soon to help lend some expertise on this. I was actually hoping my buddy Kenzo would be here to speak on this as well. Keir Starmer came out and said that replacement theory is in fact a real thing.
Yeah.
Right. Just flat out fucking said it. Years of denying it. Of course, he didn't take any of the blame for himself. He was all the third party. It was all, you know, somebody else's plan. I didn't have any part in all of this stuff. And he's I think part of the reason that he said it the way that he did was because it makes it look like or he thinks anyway that it makes it look like he's the hero for coming out and exposing us to the truth, you know, kind of bullshit. But that's, if that were the case, he wouldn't be known as two-tier Keir now, would he?
Nope. Wouldn't be actively hiding grooming gangs, wouldn't be actively promoting the ghettoization and the enclavization of his cities, wouldn't also be planning to enact a bill that is basically what the Romans would do to settle their veterans in conquered territory. Wouldn't do any of that. And yet he's doing it.
You know, not everything is reminiscent of the Roman Empire. I'm just saying.
Well, the example specific, I can't think of another group doing the specific thing of you take over a region and then you give it to the soldiers to occupy it so they stick around and pacify the locals, as opposed to having to just keep an army there. Can you think of another example of that?
Currently what's happening in England right now.
Yes.
That's the example. It's current, it's modern, everybody understands what is going on. We don't have to look up some obscure fucking thing that happened in a textbook like 1,000 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, it was on an HBO show, so how freaking obscure is it?
I don't watch HBO, and there's a lot of people who don't.
Fair point.
Yeah. So I also don't do much in the way of like documentaries. They tend to bore the shit out of me unless they're on very specific topics. So,
like what topic?
And they tend to be biased anyway. They come off like, oh, we're presenting the truth. So like take this Nexium thing from a couple of years ago. If you guys remember what that was. So it was an alleged sex cult, and I say alleged here because YouTube gets weird about this shit. Run by a guy named Keith Rainier, who's now in prison, and he has something like 72 life sentences stacked on top of each other. He's never getting out. Coerced a bunch of influential young women and whatnot from industry and from Hollywood and all this stuff to come basically be his little harem girls and then go out and recruit more. And there's all kinds of allegations about all kinds of weird sex cult shit and rapes and like branding his initials on their inner thighs kind of shit with a hot iron.
That's okay.
You hadn't heard about any of that?
I feel like I should have at some point. No, not really.
So, did you ever watch Smallville?
No.
So you probably wouldn't know who Allison Mack is. She hasn't really done a whole lot outside of that. So there was this actress.
Cultured.
Yeah, there was this actress named Allison Mack who played like Clark Kent's like nerdy girl best friend in the show Smallville. Well, the actress Allison Mack was like Keith Rainier's right hand woman. She just got out of prison after doing like a 3-year stint after she rolled over Rainier for all of this shit.
Damn.
Hey, Cal, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Howdy.
So, dude, your PM just fucking said the quiet part out loud.
What to the assisted, you know what, Bill?
Yeah, the whole like planned replacement thing with the open borders and
the open border part. I actually didn't see that part because he literally he was like Canada, where now it's if you are disabled or terminally ill, the government is, if you sign a document, the government can now take you out of your permission.
Yeah.
Like Canada does. And I'm kind of torn on that. I won't lie. I'm very pro-life, but I've also seen family members deteriorate. So if you're like at a certain point, but the open border thing, I like to watch with you because I saw a clip of it, but it didn't seem real because he's as left-wing as it gets. So it was very hard to believe that was coming out of his mouth, and I've just been a bit occupied recently. So yeah. I'd like to give my thoughts on it. I voted Reform UK to keep it all clear, so I didn't vote for him.
This is just a short clip, but this is the clip of what was said. I think he did this press conference yesterday. I think this is about a day old. Let me know if
I only saw a little bit earlier.
All right.
What the British people are owed is an explanation, because a failure on this scale isn't just bad luck. It isn't a global trend or taking your eye off the ball. No, this is a different order of failure. This happened by design, not accident. Policies were reformed deliberately to liberalize immigration. Brexit was used for that purpose, to turn Britain into a one-nation experiment in open borders. Global Britain. Remember that slogan? That is what they meant. A policy with no support, of which they then pretended wasn't happening. What the British...
He's twisted a lot there, and I'll tell you
Yes.
why. The main reason Brexit happened was to reduce immigration numbers forced to us by the EU. So that's the main reason people voted for Brexit, was to lower immigration. Global Britain was in terms of trade, not open borders. And in 2003, there was a famous lawyer, now knighted, who actually, I believe, started one of the first cases, or the most famous case at the time, to like allow people to seek asylum by immigrating illegally. And that lawyer was Sir Keir Starmer, who actually went against the Labour government, Tony Blair's government at the time, to actually give these people, what's the word? Asylum. I don't there's another word for it, but I can get the official things up. It's something that went around last election, but he fought the Labour government at the time, Tony Blair's government, to change the laws regarding illegal immigration and claiming asylum, and he won. So as a lawyer, he fought for what he just said is bad because of Brexit 13 years after what he did. Well, so he's telling half-truths.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, because you can just tell by how he's worded it, even if you don't know the first thing about this guy's fucking history. The way he's wording this is placing the blame on everybody else but himself.
Robots.
And ShooterNet is here, boys and girls.
You know, is it roboting? Is it? That's
Yeah.
not good.
This
not
one
doing it
bad.
now, but it was like a second ago.
How is it now?
It's good.
Okay. Well, what I was saying was the. Now you're roboting, kid.
Fuck.
So the what I'm saying was that the way he words this in this, just in this one clip alone, it puts the onus on everybody came before him and exonerates him completely, just the way that he lays it out there.
I'll tell you this now. I've got the so-called facts up by fact checkers. So, I mean, even YouTube can't tell you or me off. Keir Starmer took the government to court in 2003. He represented 5 of 6 asylum seekers who took the government to court in 2003. Mr. Starmer was the barrister representing 5 of these people. He did not initiate or bring the legal action himself, but he took the government to court and won. So he may not have implemented, but he fought for it and got it done out of government because he was a barrister / lawyer at the time. What was claimed was this means today legal immigrants can be housed in hotels and given benefits, which they actually are today. But this place says the case was about whether or not asylum seekers who didn't claim asylum as soon as they entered the UK would be allowed support from the government in the form of accommodation or financial help, but not access to benefits. So they worded it very funny there too on the fact checkers, because if you're asking for accommodation or financial help but not benefits, welfare benefits, what is financial help and accommodation? Because that's a benefit of a system we pay into and they don't. So I don't get that part. It's a whole lot of nothing. So supposedly they can't apply for universal credit, which is basically social security in the UK. But they were housed in hotels and received financial support in 2003. So he fought for this. He took the Labour government to court for this 13 years before Brexit. And if you search up the main reason people voted Brexit, it was to reduce immigration. So he's told the truth about how this is on purpose, but he hasn't been honest with where it's come from.
Well, my understanding of Brexit was the British people didn't want to be part of a society of like a loose coalition of countries that had open borders like the EU is supposed to be, right? The whole point was to kind of distance themselves from this sort of conglomerate of countries.
The EU would be good as a trading bloc, which is what it was originally made for. So after World War II, they didn't want German domination of Europe, so they made the EU. When you have a look at the EU, the president is German. The main players are German and French. They want to implement a currency to all these countries. They've bankrupted Greece. They've bankrupted many countries, smaller countries, with the euro to only benefit really France and Germany. I think
so. You want to you want to get into some conspiracy theory shit here, because I actually have a theory about this.
Well, I'd tell you what, they wanted to prevent German domination and created the Fourth Reich. So that's what I think of the EU.
That's exactly what it is. It's because brute force didn't work last time, so they're using economics this time, and it's not even Germany necessarily. Germany's just the fucking front man, right? It's the WEF behind them.
And what nationality is Klaus Schwab?
German.
Very German.
Das ist sehr gut.
Isn't there a bank vault with a ton of freaking like swastika printed gold just chilling in Switzerland? Because
but there are several in Switzerland.
Yeah, I was going to say there might be a few of those there, kid.
And I tell you now, you can't bring up Switzerland. It's not a part of the EU.
Yeah,
we could bring it up as a part of history.
Well, yeah, but
Shadow, it
can't. Part of the EU.
It can't be part of the EU because of their stance on total neutrality. They can't. Because by joining an EU, they would essentially be siding with the European Union.
Gotcha.
But it was originally a trading union, and it became political with a European Parliament, and they want a European army, and they want Turkey to join. It's all very mad, and they want Ukraine to join.
Yeah, that's where it gets me. Is like I don't think that I think that publicly. On the surface, it was originally a trading union. I think that was just the foot in the door, though. I think what they're doing now, even though it's failing spectacularly, which is actually kind of good to see, I think that the way that the EU sort of just became so pervasive was the intent the whole time. I think this Fourth Reich shit was the intent the entire time. They just said it was a trading union in the beginning, just like they said that the NSDAP was just a workers' union in the beginning.
Well, I'll tell you now, the UK never joined the Euro because of Mrs. Thatcher. Mrs. Thatcher did a lot of good and a lot of silly things, but Keeping the sterling was definitely a good thing. And if we joined the euro, we'd be like much less of a country and more reliant. But when we left the EU, the reason France didn't want us to leave, and the reason why France are now basically telling all the illegals to go from Calais to Dover, which is France to England, is because they know our system's weak. They know our system gives benefits, the most benefits in Europe to illegals and people who don't even want to assimilate or come legally. It's an absolute mess at the minute. And a good question is, if people can claim asylum and they're fleeing stuff and they can claim asylum, why do they not take a cheap flight, let's say €100 from France or Germany to Heathrow Airport and claim asylum when they land off the plane? Why instead are they spending
Because by international law, they're required to go no more than 3 local nonviolent ports. Those 3 countries that are nearest are the ones that can accept them as refugees for asylum, with a couple of exceptions involving island nations and stuff like that, because that gets kind of weird when you try to say what's the nearest port,
like if there's 4 hostile nations between you and the nearest friendly nation, you can go past those 4 to the 5th nation, which is the friendly one.
That's
You
what I said,
cannot go
friendly
more
port.
than yeah.
But this isn't true in Europe because we have the European Court of Human Rights, which is an off branch of the EU, and we're still a part of it for some reason, and it's the reason we have to accept these people. But what I was going to say is, why don't they spend €100 on a flight from an airport somewhere in Europe, if not their country, to Heathrow? Why instead do they travel through multiple European countries where they can claim asylum and spend €5,000 to take a small lifeboat, chuck all their passports in the ocean, and come that way? Is that so they're undocumented? They don't need to have their passports checked. But if you question this, you're called far right now.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club, bud.
Well, because far right, because if you look at it, the difference between left wing and right wing is right wing seeks to maintain the traditional status quo of the nation, whereas left wing is all about progress. So if the tradition is we are a people, we have an identity, and we don't want it infected by foreigners, then to go, well, we want foreigners makes you inherently left wing. You can't want change and be a right winger. Philosophically, at least, not politically.
I think that's a reductivist way of looking at it, but yeah, I mean, you got a point, but I think it's a little bit too reductivist on that. And if we're going to talk about left and right, let's be perfectly honest. The American notion of left and right is very different than a lot of other places. We took our entire notion of like conservatives on the right and liberals on the left from the seating arrangement of the fucking British Parliament during the Second Revolution.
Yes. And that's why I delineated specifically philosophical rather than political, because politically speaking, it's a completely retarded metric.
Yeah.
Fuck, why am I stuck?
Yeah. I don't know. Because you're young
You have
and
to
gay,
grow up
maybe?
before you can learn to speak properly, sir.
But no, I mean, you got a point though about that. It's just like we tend to think of things in terms of like black and white, good and evil. This is this and this is that, and there's no crossover. There's no, and the reality of the matter is that human beings aren't like that. We're all complex, contradictory creatures.
Yep.
Right. I tend to lean more towards the right. Right. And in some ways, a lot more towards the right. But that doesn't mean that everything that I think and do and feel is going to be lockstep with those guys.
Yeah.
I told you, all right, we dream.
Is it like my wet dream?
Yeah, it might be. I call it Manifest Destiny 2, the Manifestos.
That's
where we start adding states and go with this globalism concept I keep hearing about.
To Sam's point, look at like the leaders of the quote unquote alt-right movement. Let's use some American examples being Trump. Trump was a Democrat in the 80s. Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat 5 years ago. Elon Musk, I don't know his recorded politics, but given he's a tech bro, I'm willing to bet he was a Democrat in the 80s.
He voted for Biden.
Yeah, he was a Democrat. To use someone that I listened to a fuck ton that from your side of the pond, not Arch, fuck, wrong guy. Carl Benjamin. He has expressed that he was a liberal before Gamergate, and getting into the philosophy of things turned him into a right winger because the left got batshit crazy. it's entirely it is completely a nebulous thing, but fundamentally there is identifying points of left and right wing.
Well, Cole
But-
Benjamin, he ran for the European Parliament in our last EU elections after we voted for Brexit, and it all
Yeah, he
got
did.
he got blindsided because he said he wouldn't R words, the full letter R word, a Labour politician.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, same with Count Dankula, who's Scottish. He made his pug do a certain salute. And
Yeah,
The R word we're referring to is retarded, right?
No,
No,
the other
No.
R word.
actually, Carl Benjamin said I wouldn't even
Yeah.
R word.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
that's what he
I
said.
gotcha. Yeah, I remember him saying that now.
But he did not
I
threaten
like it.
her with anything, and that's the part that really burns my cockles, bro.
Yeah. He said he wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah, but the media likes to spin stuff. The media is mostly right wing here, but it's still back Starmer last election. It's Rupert Murdoch who does a lot of US.
Hold
media
on.
too.
When you say the media is mostly right wing here, when you're talking about from an American perspective, that's still left, bro.
Yeah, it's centre right, if anything at all. I used to work for the BBC, and they're as left wing as they go, and we pay them to be impartial. We need a TV license to even watch them.
Actual center right or cuck center right?
British center right.
Yeah,
That-
British centre right.
Yeah, like left, central, progressive.
Gotcha.
I'm about 2 squares right on a political compass, and I'm considered far right here.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I know, like, for example, like Americans are like terrified of state overreach. And I don't know if this lines up with you, but I've heard that like even the European right are fine with things like public health care and things like that, but the American right are completely against it, which is why you have to delineate philosophy and politics when using those.
When it comes to public health care, I think that you should be able to do both. And if you're able to pay, you should opt in to pay. I don't think that, it's called the National Health Service, but we basically look after any old dick who comes like on a small boat or on a plane. They can come over here, say, oh, I need health care, take all our resources and piss off to where they came from.
Yeah.
And that's the IHS, that's the International Health Service. It's not what we pay for. If it was actually the NHS, I'd say it's a good thing for people who can't afford it. And if you want private healthcare, that should be an option. But it's kind of frowned upon, even if you have the money, you've got to use the NHS, which I think is just a drain on the system.
Oh, it absolutely is. That's one of the main criticisms I see lobbied against Americans, and even from Britain is, well, you guys, if you really cared about your people, you'd have free healthcare. And I was like, what? So define free for me in this context, because it
Right.
doesn't exist. There's no such thing as free healthcare. It
Hold on.
doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion. Hold on now. I'm of the opinion that the term free is slightly interchangeable on this. You could make it quote unquote free to the individual without consideration to anything else. And all we have to do is become isolationists and stop sending money places.
I'd say universal.
Yeah,
healthcare
well,
is
the way I
better
understand
free.
it in a lot of European countries. Yeah. The way I understand it in a lot of European countries, particularly in Scandinavia, and I think it works like this in Britain. Cal, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially you pay a certain amount of fee up front at the beginning of the year, along with like yearly taxes or whatever that goes into that fund. No, it's not like that.
It's
anymore.
just simply my taxes go into it. So what they take out of my
Okay.
taxes every year, they put into it. I don't pay a fee. I think you pay a fee in France or Germany. But over here, at least you just gets taken out my taxes, and then
I was
they
thinking
actually tell
Norway
you-
has something like that. Yeah.
I can tell you how my taxes were used. I could go on government website right now. They tell you how they spend your taxes.
They
I mean,
tell
you
how they
guys
want
have
to
that
pay
up
you.
on us. They don't tell us fuck
Yo.
all about how we spend they spend our taxes. It's
Yeah, well, they also tell us how much we owe and if they owe us.
But
And
how do
IRS.
y'all handle black bag scenarios, right? I mean,
What do you mean?
like we have the CIA and we don't exactly publicize their budget.
Well, it's not really publicizing a government budget. It's more, where do my taxes go?
Right. Well, some of
I'm
your
not gonna
taxes
lie.
go to those divisions, but I doubt you're going to find them on that their
It
synopsis.
would just say public sector or something.
Yeah. So it would basically like it wouldn't tell like for our example, it wouldn't be CIA going towards black ops in Iran. It would just be CIA, not mentioning black ops in Iran. Right? Like it mentions that it goes to the agency, but it doesn't mention what the agency uses the money for.
I think it just says public sector, mate. I don't know
Okay,
anything about
gotcha.
what agency.
Gotcha. Okay.
I can tell you right now. Give me a sec. I'm just signing in.
No worries.
That is to kind of get back to the video earlier. It is of interest to me that Keir Starmer is actually coming out and saying, you know, yes, we allowed a flood of immigrants purposely just to see what would happen because we think that it was going to go one way, and it's a spectacular. He's like admitting failure or whatever, but I don't think it is failure. I think it's achieved exactly what the intent was, which was to destabilize the core of the country.
Yeah, it's definitely not a failure because it succeeded in destroying our identity, our language, our values, our culture, our systems. It's successful, but for all the wrong reasons. And it is a European experiment, but we bent the knee. Even Boris Johnson.
Well, it's. I wouldn't even say European experiment. It's Western. It's Western entirely. I mean, you look at New Zealand, you look at Australia, you look at the United States, you look at Canada. We're all going through the same shit to greater or lesser degrees.
Yeah, I guess it is, but it started in Europe.
I would say it's more. I would say it's less Western, more modern. It's a modern.
No, it's definitely Western. You don't see this shit happening in China, dude.
Well, China is Chinese culture, not modern culture. I'm speaking to like modern having its own separate cultural identity. Like
in this case, that modern is synonymous with Western because everything that's not Western is a couple of steps behind us.
I would disagree. I would say you can have like a West. You can identify what is separate from modern and Western. Like Western is ideas of egalitarianism, of certain moral codes, things like that, and then you have modern, which is more of a Marxist leaning of Western culture, if that makes sense. It's like an hour-long topic. I can link some videos if you'd like me to. I just don't want to derail the stream any more than it's already been derailed.
I just want to be clear that I don't disagree with you, and I hate that about you.
Yes.
There we go. This is how my taxes were spent. So it lists it like this. So healthcare, see, I paid most of my taxes into healthcare. Welfare.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'm paying for Mohammed to sit on a 5-star sofa with his feet up, not knowing English.
Make sure real quick you don't have any like personally identifying information.
I don't see it. It's just how my taxes were spent. It was spent on this.
Okay.
I'm not scrolling any further. I know. I double checked.
Someone get that Social Security number. It's right there.
Nah, my national insurance ain't there. I do have a Social Security number though for the USA.
Oh, really?
So we just want to hand those things out, you know.
Yeah, no, I worked in North Dakota last year, so I needed one to get paid.
Yeah. That's
you know what's messed up? If I went to work in North Dakota, I would need one to get paid.
I beg your pardon. What?
Well, the thing is like the Social Security system is a really weird organization. It's loosely tied in with things like census, driver's licenses, and various other identification methods. But ultimately, you are your Social Security number in the system.
Yeah. It has a lot more to do with identification than it has to do with like actually benefiting you down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing to do with money. Everything to do with their money.
Yeah, essentially, what happened was so the Social Security Administration was created by I think Franklin Delano Roosevelt's administration. Now, Franklin Delano Roosevelt is notable for a couple of things: the New Deal, the fact that he was the only president to serve 4 fucking terms. I mean, although he died in the beginning of his 4th term, and he is the reason for presidential term limits, by the way, because he was never going to leave office. And a handful of other things like that. But and I think there was some like recodifying of what the IRS is and was at the time, which has led us to where we are now. under his administration. Although the IRS, their precursor got started up in like 1913 or whatever during the First World War, or just prior to the First World War, in order to, it was supposed to be temporary. It was supposed to end the minute that war did, but it didn't. Here we are, fucking 100 years later, still paying into it.
I don't know. National insurance here is kind of a good thing. I don't know how it is in America when it comes to. I just kind of saw it as your guys' national insurance. I didn't realize it was that young.
Yeah, well, so
a long time.
we didn't have income tax or property tax or any number of these other taxes for a long time, like
completely financed by tariffs. The whole thing.
Oh, so
up until like 1913.
They're so upset about Trump going back to that. Is that why they're like?
They're upset by that because first of all, I don't think they understand what tariffs are exactly, and secondly, they fail to remember that for 40 years, our country was completely sustained. Our government was totally run on tariffs.
Well, that was the government back when we were a federation of states, not the modern borderline authority.
That doesn't mean it can't work today.
What
they don't require all that fucking money to run. They don't. Why do you think they end up fucking sending it all to Ukraine and then laundering it back to their personal bank
That's the game. The politicians that be have been selling these tariffs, not tariffing the other countries, and basically selling that agreement for all of the money that they're sending back out of the country. It's basically a big money laundering scam.
Guys, I disagree. It's not like we had a functional, stable society before the government took 50% of your wages over the course of your life and then sent them to foreigners, and what money did stick around was spent on stupid projects that focused more on getting money into the hands of the elite than actually.
No. Tell me what you really think.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit.
Yeah, but no, unironically, I would definitely prefer we go back to the days when the federal government just it was a military apparatus to protect us from foreign threats. It handled foreign diplomacy. It made sure one state
and natural disasters.
State. And then if we want to have stuff like public education or public health care or whatever, leave that to the states. Like, if some jackass in California wants public health care, tax that from Californians and don't make a Texan pay for a Californian's health care, and vice versa. Let the states have the freedom.
Let's go back a little bit to something you just said there too about public education. Public education was a fucking mistake, and I don't mean that it was a mistake in the way that it did. Oh my God, we made a mistake. No, I mean it was a mistake in the same way that Keir Starmer is saying that the fucking brownification of Britain is a mistake. It wasn't a goddamn mistake. It was John D. Rockefeller's brainchild, and the entire purpose was to produce an entire class of mindless fucking drones, which he has successfully done, I might add.
Yes.
I would say it's more culture than race in the UK. I don't think half these people care if you're brown.
Right. I was being a little hyperbolic.
No, I understand, but I know in America it's also, you got there's a certain group, the blacks, who are like, oh, the white man, and then the black people. We don't really have that. It's more kind of like the Pakistan.
That's more of a one-way kind of thing. Section. You see, back in the 60s, the federal government took an offense to the idea of there being any type of a Caucasian nationalist situation, and all of that got busted up by the federales. So now the only thing you really can do is be, those horrible white people.
Yeah, we get called Greys here. I don't know if you guys get
Greys, baby. Welcome to my kingdom.
Yeah. I got called Grey the other day because there was a Twitter account or an X account, and it was about a poking in London, which happens all the flipping time. But it was called the British Pakistani Index, and I never heard of it. I thought it was a stupid name. So on Instagram, a screenshot of this post said, person pokes, we don't know who did it, and I just commented live from the British Pakistani Index, and I had about 20 comments calling me a grey, a school pew-pewer, because my profile picture is me next to a picture of Trump like that, because I thought it's hilarious. And I just simply commented the name of this Twitter account, X account, and they were being completely racist towards me, but it's not a problem, and they were calling me grey in the comments. I never heard of it. but I've seen it a lot on social media now. They call you grey instead of white, or they call you YT, like YouTube YT. And I don't get it. Like, it's almost like white is a slur they want to create, but they're saying
Yeah.
white and grey.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well,
Really
yeah,
don't.
they're
I
gonna
get kicked out of some.
separate your existence so that you feel like less of a person. It's easier to attack someone if you've dehumanized them, if you've removed every ounce of humanity from them, than it is to pretend that they're a person. The specific of like, I don't know why they're going gray, but also whitey. My guess would be it's like one person was trying to like pull the color out and identify you as like not human, you're a gray, and then other people wanted to mock you for being white, and it just kind of idiots who don't understand the specifics are trying to use both and failing horribly. But before we get another conversation going and I become a shitty person for interrupting, I'm being called away, so I do need to go.
I knew it.
Thank you,
It's
He's
Fred.
cheating on
because
us
you
again,
don't love
Squatch.
me anymore. I know he doesn't love us.
No, it's family. It's not a stream. It's family. And
Look,
when
you come in tonight, just climb in between us. It'll be fine.
No. And Sam, I probably should not risk listing off any stuff I've got coming up because my brother's back, and every time he decides to burst into a room when I'm streaming, he screams something that should take your channel down, but doesn't. So I'm going to go before he gets the chance to do that.
All right, fair enough. Well, thanks for being here for a little while anyway.
Yeah, sorry. And sorry for any sort of derailments that happened while I was here and while I'm gone. It's all my fault.
Yes, blame the kid.
Noted.
Even
Yes,
if it's me that
absolutely.
brings it up.
It's my fault, absolutely. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Shadow.
Deuces, baby. He's a good kid.
Most of the time. Like most kids.
Until he starts with that whole history thing, because he has huge gaps.
How old is he? We're calling him a kid. How old is he to you to be a kid?
I'm just picking on him. He's what, 22?
He's freshly 21.
Oh, I'm 23. So I'm only a little bit older.
Well, I call him Egg because I'm an asshole.
I thought you called him Egg because the chicken came first.
But see, that's the thing. Is like, he's not even a kid yet. He graduated to kid recently.
Yeah. Now he's young. He's pretty well read, but he does have like a significant gap in his education because there's a certain period of time between his birth and like I don't know, fucking Kennedy assassination, where he's just wasn't interested, even though most of the interesting history in the 20th century happened in that period.
Most of your effective history of the 20th century happened in that history. So it's weird, man. Like it is a strange. Maybe he just refuses to discuss it because he doesn't think he has enough information. Because they definitely, since Project Mockingbird, the entire industrial complex of media has been completely infiltrated. It is ridiculous.
Well, you were just saying about history and Department of Education and like state education. I was at a public school, a Catholic public school. I'm not a Catholic though. I'd say I'm a Christian, but I'm not a Catholic. And I'm glad I'm the age I was. I was born in 2001, 3 months before 9/11. Would you believe it? That's how old I am. Flipping. At the time I was at school, it was all about World War II. That was our history lessons in this public school, secondary and primary. World War II, World War II, World War II. Germany.
Oh,
Germany. It was only after kind of I left secondary school that I learned about, we had a week on Jack the Ripper. And that's when I started looking into everything else. But then a couple of years later, like the kids born in 2004 onwards are now learning all just kind of about certain groups had it bad and that you had it bad and you're this because a couple hundred years ago these people did this to you. And now they're also being told, oh, well, gender's just a spectrum, all this stuff in education, it's all right to be this and that. There's all these flags across the room kind of like promoting them to be a certain way, like promoting this ideology. I'm glad I had it when I did.
That sounds an awful lot like a cult. That is strange how they
it's
just
an education system.
I don't see why a cult couldn't be born within an education system.
Yeah,
true. I mean, it'd be the most effective way to indoctrinate people. Sure. Yeah, especially when they're young.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a Department of Education too, but I don't think it's a department. It's a single MP that overlooks education. So you know how our Parliament works. Someone in the
Rockefeller involved in that one?
Sorry.
Was Rockefeller involved in that one? Do I need my tinfoil hat back on?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah, let's
It's
find
an
out.
MP.
You're not going to get me.
I think
brought
it's the
the
Secretary of Education. So this one MP decides. Oh, you have a Secretary of Education too. Fuck's sake, what are they called, man? The Secretary of State for Education. So one person gets elected, and the Prime Minister selects this one MP to basically overlook the education for the coming years. So these people who have never worked in education, never been a teacher, never taught a classroom, never spoken to a kid that wasn't their own if they have any, is now deciding what is important to teach in a classroom if teachers want a job.
Who is that guy that said trading a tyrant 5,000 miles away for a tyrant for 1,000 tyrants of 5 miles away?
No idea. Never read that one.
I don't think I've heard that one either.
No,
From the Patriot movie, you silly monkey.
Oh,
that's a movie.
Now
Watch one.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Is it because
I get your references. Screw you, man.
I don't. Yeah, I don't get all the kids' references either. You know, most of them, in fact, because they involve some obscure stable boy from 1,500 years ago in some vassal state of Rome. Yeah, you know, who's only mentioned twice in somebody's diary entry.
Right.
Yeah. Which I do have to get this off of my chest. I did on social media a little while ago, but I think it bears repeating. Right. There are so many people these days who are shilling for the glory days of Rome. Right. They're like, we need to bring Rome back. Roman values, Roman systems. We need they were doing everything right. By the way, if they were doing everything right, they'd still be around. I'm just saying. But a lot of these guys tend to be right wing in the American sense and very Christian, right? Which just blows my fucking mind because I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, you guys are taking credit for an empire that fell when you guys took over it, but was built and maintained at its height by a bunch of butt fucking pagans.
Caucasian, I got to say something. I've never heard of Rockefeller in British politics, but the former unelected Prime Minister Gordon Brown of the Labour Party, which is what Keir Starmer is, joined the Rockefeller Foundation Board of Trustees in March 2024. So the Prime Minister, who was the Prime Minister during the financial crash, who wasn't elected and got voted out in 2010, has just joined the Rockefeller Board literally months ago.
Should I put my tinfoil hat back on?
And Keir Starmer joined a secretive CIA-linked group while serving in Corbyn's shadow cabinet when he was the opposition party under Mike Pompeo. So take that as you will.
Fucking Mike Pompeo.
Yeah, he's fucking
guy. Dude, I saw something the other day where somebody was let's see if I can find it. There was an advertisement on X for a guy who was trying to sell a book, and his selling point was that he and here it is. He and somebody named Craig Mundy and the late Henry Kissinger wrote this book together to explore how AI can solve global crises. Henry fucking Kissinger, the butcher of Washington.
And you know, Miss Maxwell, you know,
we're going to do it right this time.
Ghislaine Maxwell, her father was a member of Parliament for the United Kingdom for years and years. And he was also Mossad at the same time. And George Soros bet against the pound. He was the highest shorter against the pound during the 2008 financial crisis. So he basically worsened our currency even more and won like billions of dollars off of it.
Yeah. Lepo asks, real question, is anything not linked to the CIA? I think the better question would be, is the CIA not the same as like MI6 and Mossad and
Right. It
pick
seems
your devilish first world agency that goes around fucking with other countries. I'm not convinced that they're not all the same organization.
right. Same 12 people doing this stuff, just sitting around
Yeah.
playing cards and deciding it in back rooms and pretending it's all international intrigue while pocketing billions. Nah.
Yeah, I obviously I have no proof for that, and we are just talking out our. That's why I put the disclaimers down below in the description about how we're not experts in anything.
And
We just
that's
people
also
talking.
why I
But
copied him.
yeah, that's probably for the best. I think the last time the channel got taken down because I was quoting somebody directly, by the way. But the last time the channel got taken down, I got somebody else's channel taken down. I think that might have been part of it. They didn't copy over the disclaimers. Yeah, I don't know. This whole world's fucked, man. It is. I think we might be seeing some turnaround, a little bit of glimmer of hope, at least in the short term, but I don't know about long term. Long term, I
Is
think
the
we're all
world
pretty
turning?
fucked still.
Are we in a situation where the pendulum swings the other way? Or is this the point where that weird mid 90s liberal system becomes the new conservative system? Because that's what Trump is doing, is basically mid 90s liberalism with a much more nationalistic flavor to it.
Yeah. I actually kind of wonder if, going back to the Keir Starmer announcement, I kind of wonder if the reason he's coming out and saying that shit is not so much because the quote unquote experiment failed, but because of how things are changing here in the States. It's
because of how it's. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're good, man. Go ahead.
It's because of what you understand that we've just had a petition on the government website that is by far the fastest growing petition in its history, calling for a general election because they say the Labour Party have lied on all their promises back in July, so they want him out already. And also because there's loads of polls at the minute where the Labour Party will lose the election, the Conservatives will win, and Reform UK, which is basically a bit more right than the Conservatives, will get 50 MPs instead of 5, which is quite big because they were the third largest party in terms of votes last election, and they only have 5 MPs. Fourth place got 72. So he sees that people are fed up of Labour already. They only voted Conservatives out, and now they're like, damn, the Conservatives are bad because they're not conservative, but they're far better than this chunk.
And I think there's more to it than that, brother. At least in America, at least here, people have been sitting around quietly allowing this stuff to go on in their own backyards for the past 15 years. And a whole cycle of children have gone through this completely draconian virtual penal system of an education colony, right? Or at least here in America, our schools look a lot like our prisons. They're virtually indistinguishable from one another from a distance. And I don't think that's an error. I think all of this is part of the program for the whole globalization concept. And I think if they want globalization, let's give it to them.
I don't want to give them globalization. I don't want globalization.
How would you like to have a constitution? In the right
I don't think it.
I would like a constitution. I'm fed up with King Charles, and I'm fed up.
We can help you with that, brother.
Call me strange. I love Britain. I love England. I love Scotland and Wales. Northern Ireland, I don't care for, and I would vote to be the 51st state of the United States. I don't care. I love my country, but
to be fair, I don't think the Northern Irish care for Northern Ireland either.
I would like to give them because the Scottish already had a referendum. They voted to stay. Brexit, they had their say, but we're a union. If anyone deserves a separation referendum, it should be Northern Ireland, because I think a unified Ireland's better for Ireland than us having that
No,
northeast.
I agree. I think that they should unify. Actually, one of the things that surprised the hell out of me earlier this year was when your old Sean Fain types and the loyalists started fucking siding together against the immigration. It was like nobody thought that could happen. That was really cool, actually.
Well, the
for a minute.
Republic of Ireland are selling themselves out. They're importing these people.
Mhm.
And the past prime minister, because every president does nothing, but also prime minister,
Sure.
Leo something, absolute knob. And then the new one, I don't know anything about him, but he's just a continuity candidate that doesn't have as much baggage.
Yeah.
So,
real quick, Fred Lors, welcome in. So I think you're over on the Caucasian Sasquatch side. That depended. We're running this currently on 2 different YouTube channels, and they're different from each other, and they're kind of hard to describe. So on my channel, we talk about like all kinds of different wacky shit. Sometimes political, sometimes cultural, sometimes entertainment, sometimes whatever. Just whatever happens. Science and technology. A lot of really, really dirty, bad jokes, that kind of thing. And Sasquatch is quite a bit more esoteric and varied than that. So it's hard to describe his channel. I would let him do it. He'll be back in a moment. But we appreciate you being here nonetheless. Currently, we're discussing some of the changes that are going on in the Western world, in particular with Britain at the moment.
yeah, I got invited on because you said so. I watched a boxing fight, and if it wasn't as brutal as it was, I wouldn't have seen it. I've seen your stream. It was Sonny Edwards versus someone Yafai. So this like Arabic guy who was born in the UK fighting a guy from Liverpool, and it was horrible to watch. It was just brutal. The guy from Liverpool didn't want to be there, and he got done bad. I had to like.
I haven't been watching too many fights lately. I watched that bullshit exhibition fight with Tyson and what's his face, and
it was always going to be Jake Paul
I'm done
points,
for a while.
mate. Yeah, it was always Jake Paul points. You got to understand with Jake Paul, he says in his contracts that he has to win, and they get more if they get knocked out. But Mike Tyson was never going to be knocked out. Mike Tyson was never going to throw actual punches. Because Jake Paul's business strategy is go for big names.
Yeah.
Lose on points or lose by knockout.
I get it from Tyson's perspective. I mean, he made a bunch of money on that, and so did Netflix, and so did Paul, for that matter. But and I get them doing it for that reasons. But like, if it's just gonna be a fucking exhibition fight, call it that.
Well,
don't market it for months as something that it's not.
Hey Jay Rilla, how you doing, friend? It's good to see you. I like Jay Rilla.
What's up, man?
I like Jay Rilla. He's a very nice guy. When I was always on another live stream.
Right. Yeah. Fred Lors, I don't want to speak for Sasquatch, but on my channel it tends to lean pretty right. So
I'm right wing. I'd say I'm right wing.
Yeah. Typically. Sometimes we have people who don't lean that way on the channel. Sometimes we don't, but it's more or less an open discussion forum, and then everybody's subjected to my opinions because it's my fucking channel. So I'm a bit like Jake Uger that way, except I don't advocate fucking horses.
Does he?
I did, a while back. That's why we meme the shit out of him.
So, I didn't realize he said that about horses.
Yeah, no, there was I don't have it right up in front of me. There's a clip from the Young Turks from like four years ago where he's talking about how if it doesn't harm the horse and if the horse gets some enjoyment out of it, he doesn't see anything wrong.
God bless you, upset Mr. Frederick. That's okay.
Oh, fair enough. Take care of yourself. Have fun. You didn't have to insult us on the way out, but have a nice day and a nice life. It is what it is. Not everybody's going to like us. So
I think it's good to discuss things with people. I like talking to left wingers who actually want to talk.
Sure.
I mean, I'm surrounded. You understand. My city is under the Green Party. It's not even Labour. It's Green Party. My city. So it's pretty left wing. And I'm friends with people of all walks of life. Because I think a certain way or they do, it doesn't make us any less of a person, but you can agree and disagree. I like talking to people because you can learn things, and then you can also stay valid on certain opinions you have. You like double down on them after you talk to a certain walk of life. But
yeah, it's man, not everybody that you run across is going to jibe with you, and not everybody who is going to get along with you or like you or want to be in the same room with you. That's just a fact of life. That's true of every single one of us who walks this earth. So I'm not going to get super hurt about it or anything, but I grew up hearing my whole life about the golden rule. I happen to think that it's a pretty worthwhile thing to live by. So I will be as respectful as I can to anybody who comes across, especially if they want to be
treated.
Yeah,
isn't that the golden? Yeah, that's what my granddad taught me. He said there's one motto in your life, and it's treat those who wish to be treated.
Yeah. American 101 says, is it weird that a Brit sounds more convincing just because of the accent?
Yeah. Well, the British accent in the USA got me very well looked after. They loved the accent, but then also I was looking after younger people when I was in North Dakota. And the one thing that I get fed up with that I can't stand is, oh, you say bottle of water. I heard it about 1,000 times in one day per day. So
yeah, absolutely. Hey, Sasquatch, I don't know how much of that you caught, but I think I might have lost you a subscriber.
Excellent. I'm glad you're keeping up the good work. What was the question?
He asked if this was left wing, right wing content, and I was like, "Well, I can't speak for Sasquatch, but I'm pretty right wing, And he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I know I'm gonna,
I'm slightly right of Genghis Khan. I'll be honest with you. I'm slightly right of Genghis Khan. I want everyone to do what I say, but if we're not going to do that, and I can understand why, we've got to figure out this voting thing and make that work.
Right. So I don't know. I said something about this a couple weeks ago. I think personally that everybody on earth could benefit from a little bit of nationalism. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like National Socialism. I'm not talking like Nazi shit. I'm talking about the love of your country, putting your country above all other countries. I do it, and I fully expect people in like fucking Zimbabwe to do it too. Right. Why wouldn't they love why wouldn't they put their home above everybody else? I think that a little nationalism across the board could probably do all of us a lot of good.
I'll show you this, mate. Yeah, I think you'll like this. My room's a bit of a pigsty, but up here, I have my two flags: the English flag, the St. George's, and 2 Union Jacks and a bottle of Hennessy.
Yep.
Also, I have a Teddy Roosevelt bear.
Be careful now; you're gonna get arrested for having those.
That's right. And then a North Dakota book mark and whatnot. But that Teddy Roosevelt bear's from Medora, North Dakota, and I have that next to my Union Jacks in St. George. So I hold it all to a higher chord. And, I really like the United States, and I
right. And Zillage, you're right. Most of us are conservative here, but we don't have to be. Is my point. Like, not everybody who comes in here needs to be. That's you can hold whatever opinions you like. It's fine. We're not all gonna agree on everything all the time, and frankly, it's a boring fucking world if we do.
Let me get a proper pin, or it might just let me get a proper pin. One sec. Now we're talking about nationalism. Give me a sec. I can't hear you.
It's it's not a bad thing. It really isn't. I mean, I care about my home. I love my home. I'm gonna put my home above the likes of Mexico and Canada. Yeah, there are neighbors, but they're not us. And I fully expect that Canadians would want to put their home above the U.S. and above Mexico and Greenland and their neighbors. And the same thing with Mexico. Why would Mexico not prioritize Mexicans over, say, Hondurans or Americans? That it just makes sense. That's the only way that nations stay viable anyway. Rant over. Sorry, guys.
ATL's right. The word nationalism has been so perverted today. It's best simply not to use it. And I mean, I can't necessarily disagree. I can guarantee you, any nationalist group you get together that has more than 3 members, 2 of them will be feds.
Yeah. Is that like you know that meme about how democracy actually works, and it's 2 wolves and a sheep deciding who's for dinner,
Yes, sir.
and the
But
2
it's
wolves are the
worse than that,
feds.
because historically speaking, allegedly, like how I did that,
Mhm.
often people that are involved in some of the higher politicized crimes in the past few years often had an awful lot of Fed boys hanging around their necks everywhere, and nobody said nothing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Did
Hey,
you go
Bobby,
get a brown shirt?
No, mate, I've been wearing this the whole time. So this is from Walmart. It's a James Brown tee.
There you go.
I got that from Walmart. But I'm wearing a suit jacket because you got to look good for Samael's stream, no?
Hey, I appreciate it. I dressed up a little bit too with the new avatar there that I've been dicking around with with AI and like Photoshop and whatnot.
I put on my uniform.
Yeah.
That's as far as it's going.
There you go.
I gotta, you know what I ought to do is I have a Photoshop like a top hat onto this thing. A
pretty
little
good.
bow tie.
Get you a little. Have you seen the Penguin? I don't know if
No.
I brought this up before, but
But the
I'm not
TV,
real
the recent
big.
TV show.
Yeah. Now hear me
No,
out.
I wasn't planning on it.
No, me neither. I want
It's
to watch
good,
The Sopranos.
dude. It's good. Check it out. Listen, it's got a
I don't
handful
really
of
like time
like.
dramas.
Okay, I got you. I can't help that. That's not my problem. What do you want me to say, bro? At least watch the first episode.
Isn't it just The Sopranos, but with the Penguin? They
It
wanna
kind of
make it
is.
Tony
It's
Soprano.
Gotham Sopranos. Yes, sir. You are not wrong. But it
I
takes
didn't
the
like
Penguin.
The
I love
Sopranos.
it. It takes the Penguin out of the cartoony realm of how the Joker's been portrayed and into the more gritty, realistic realm of the type of mafioso he would be. Right?
Mafioso.
Yeah,
What is that?
I get it. When you look back at the old comic books, so you see the Penguin over there, you know, what's his name? Cobblepot? That
Yeah,
man was
Oswald Cobblepot.
filthy rich, right?
Well, because he was a successful criminal and nightclub owner and a
He was an
smuggler.
extremely successful criminal nightclub owner. He owned half of Gotham, is what it comes down
Yeah,
to.
but as Batman's villains go, he was actually not crazy at all.
See,
That's why
that's
he
the
always
thing.
ended up in Blackgate and not in Arkham Asylum, is because he was just a criminal. He wasn't crazy.
That's also why he ended up being released early anytime everybody else got locked up, because without the Penguin on the streets, when the Penguin is on the streets, Gotham operates pretty much like a well-oiled mafia machine. But when the Penguin gets locked up, suddenly the Joker, the Riddler, the Mad Hatter, and everybody else hops in and tries to get a piece of it. And it goes crazy. So the powers that be have decided the criminal is the lesser of 9 evils.
Hey,
And he is.
well,
He's
the fact
honorable.
is like, he runs a gang, but he runs it like in a way that it makes a profit. And the best way to make a profit in Gotham is to make sure that shit runs smoothly. That means no like random civilian casualties. That means like no, extravagant shit that draws attention from the police or anything like that. He's very, very cautious. He's very careful. He's very smart. Some of the other gangs in Gotham, like the ones run by, well, I mean, Black Mask is a gangster too, and he's not exactly crazy either. But there's guys like Maxie Zeus, there's guys like Two-Face, guys like the Joker who have their own gangs, and all of their leaders are batshit insane. Maxie Zeus thinks he's a fucking Olympian god,
Right? And when you look at the villain list of people that could be in charge of some trash like that, and you've got folks like the Joker, the Riddler, and these people who are willing to step in at any point in time you leave a power vacuum, they just show up, start tripping out. It's wild, dude.
And then you got these other guys like Killer Croc, right? Who half the time spends his time in the sewers just eating fucking passersby, and the other half of the time works as an enforcer for one of the other gangs.
Yeah.
Who, Like it's just chaos. It's chaos everywhere. So without Batman and the Penguin, shit gets even worse.
I don't remember the comic book, but a buddy of mine had a bunch of comics, and he would leave them in the bathroom randomly for me to find and be like, "Did you read that?" I'd be like, "Yeah." But this one scene, Penguin and the Killer Croc meet up. They're supposed to be meeting up to go over what they're going to do about freaking something Catwoman's been doing or whatever. And when the Penguin meets the Killer Croc, the very first thing he does is draw his umbrella on him and shoot him right between the eyes. And then he goes, "Well, that's not going to work." And goes on with the plan just like it was supposed to be to start with. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so anybody who survives an acid bath is a champion. I'm not convinced that Joker did survive that acid bath. I think that we get a little too loose with the term survival sometimes. Or maybe not loose enough. Maybe not loose enough, right? It's like take the end of the we'll take the end of the movie The Fly, right? The 1986 version with Jeff Goldblum, right? There are two people who are alive in the room at the end of that. Three if you count the embryo, right? But there are no survivors.
There are no survivors. But also consider the serenity quotient when they run into the Reavers and they start talking about survivors on that boat and how one survivor is like, "I don't know, he was there, but you might not want to count him amongst the survivors. He'll never escape that place."
You were talking about what is right wing in the UK. For the first time ever, I've not ended up on the libertarian right doing my compass, and I'll show you it now. That's what I've been doing as I've listened to you. But I'm considered pretty right wing in my country. Oh, that's the wrong one. I believe this is it. What's that? But so I'm considered, Keir Starmer would call me a far right guy. I'm there. Sure. I used to be kind of there, like 2 squares right, 2 squares down, like here, and now I'm there. So
I tend to fall in the purple square somewhere.
Yeah, it's the first time I've not been in a purple square.
I'm way up on the top right hand of this. You're supposed to be doing what I say.
Oh, okay.
But if we're not going to do that, we're going to have to do this voting thing, which probably puts me down here in this purple area for reality.
I've always been anywhere from there. Every time I've done it from the age of 15 to a couple years ago. I've not done it in about a year, 2 years, and now I'm here. Just kind of shocked me to see.
Well, I mean, that's something that everybody should probably keep in mind too, is that your views are not going to be static as long as you are not static, right? It due to external stimuli, new information, new alliances, growth, change, learning new shit. Your views are not going to stay the same all throughout your life. They might be relatively on the same trajectory, but there will be changes as you go along. And the fact that we don't recognize that about people, that, like maybe Donald Trump, for example, isn't the crazy bastard that everybody thought he was in 2016. Maybe he was in 2016, but he's not anymore. But your perspective on things, right? Like, for instance, myself, when I was younger, I was not as, shall we say, I was never pro-abortion, but I felt for a long time that I shouldn't have any say in it, right? Because, not a woman. After I got married and our first child miscarried, right? It completely changed my perspective on everything. Once I got past the grieving and the fucking, awful shit that comes with that, it changed my complete perspective on that, because a piece of me had just died. A piece of me, not just of my soul or my heart, physically, a piece of me had just died, right? And that completely changed the context for all abortion. As far as I'm concerned, if somebody I'm with is willing to go and kill this embryo, this new life inside them, they're not just killing a new life, they're also killing me and them as well. And I have a huge fucking problem with that. Right. And that's like, your experiences do inform you as you go along. And this is just an example. I'm not not trying to tell anybody how they need to feel. But my point is
Way to
at one
go,
point I
bud.
thought
You
this.
brought the whole mood of the room down. Now I'm going to have to
It's
tell
what
a
I
terrible.
do, baby.
It's what I've got.
It's what I do. The point is like I thought one way, I had an experience, and now I think a very different way about that same thing. So, if that makes any sense, I hope
I get it. I get it. I mean, it's not possible to sit and consider every possible situation, and so the fallback position is to take a blanket approach at the problem and move on with life, because no one can really put that much freaking effort into it if you have a job and a real life and stuff,
I would say in America, it's also very different what you guys class as AB and abortion, if you can say that. Very, very different, because in America, they say that C-section is an abortion. And I was born via C-section. So like over here, like I think C-sections are good and whatnot. But when people are using it as contraception,
we need to clarify that, though. The people who are saying that a C-section is the same thing as an abortion are trying to obfuscate what the two things actually are. A C-section ends with both people being alive, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right? That's not an abortion. An abortion always, 100% of the time, ends in a death.
Yeah, I understand that, but I got told in America a C-section is also classed as an abortion.
Then they lied to you.
They were selling you a down the river.
This was, I did TikTok for a few weeks. And
I'm sorry, I can't control what you do when I'm not around.
Nah, it's okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, Dad.
It's just, but yeah, that's I've heard that in recent weeks myself. It's nearly always people who were trying to, skew things in favor of killing kids. Essentially, it's like, oh, it's really the same procedure as this over here. It's like it's really fucking not. In a C-section, if it goes well, everybody comes out alive.
Yeah, I don't know, like a molar pregnancy where it's already passed away. Like I support that, because if it's not alive and you need to get it out.
Well, if it's miscarried and it's like doing something like metastasizing, like aberrant cells or whatever, then yes, obviously that needs to be removed, because that's a danger to everybody. Then nobody comes out alive, even if you don't.
It becomes a tumor.
Right, but that's the idea is they're conflating a bunch of different things and calling it sort of a single thing under one umbrella, because that makes it an easier pill to swallow when they are just going in and killing something that's living inside that poses absolutely no danger.
Yeah, I don't like it, because there's a modern group of so-called feminists who basically brag about, I've had this many, I would happily have more. It was one of, I don't care. I find it disgusting. Like, I'm obviously never going to have to go through that, hopefully, like in terms of a partner doing it. But, and I wouldn't want it to happen. But these people that go around and they're voting for politicians simply so, they can brag about it at a protest of colored hair. There's something about that is just like really kind of upsets me. Like, you feel sorry for them, but they don't realize how much of a nasty person they sound. You get it over here too. Like I said, my city is Green Party ran. It was Labour Party ran for years. Now the head of the Green Party of the UK is the MP in my city. You see all these protests, and it's the same people who brag about it are waving Palestine flags saying save the kids in Palestine. And they're bragging about crushing an unborn child's head in their vag. It's crazy to me.
From high places, they say.
From high places, where they chuck off their kind in sorry.
Not Laws 2 says if you jerk off into the toilet, that's millions of possible lives. That is a fact. Yes. Possible lives. While it is technically alive, they're still your cells at that point. So they haven't become a separate entity yet. So plus it's only half an RNA or half a DNA strand. It's just like it's it's not there yet. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's true as well. It's like, I've killed generations in a tube sock kind of thing.
Yeah, but I'd tell you what, sperm ain't a fetus, and it can't be compared
All
to
right,
such.
y'all have said it. Now I have to tell the joke. Hey,
Go
Callum,
for
I
it.
got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Why did the sperm cross the road?
Because you couldn't hold it in.
Because I put on the wrong sock this morning.
That's good. That's a good one. Not heard that one.
It's pretty good. You know, hey,
Wow.
just speaking of which, and I won't go off on like a bunch of different jokes here or anything like that, but I did hear this one the other day that made me chuckle hard because it's just absurd. Sasquatch, what has 2 legs and bleeds?
Lunch.
Half a dog.
Oh, it's bad, bro. Oh, all right. Naughty corner immediately. Off with yourself.
It's still making me laugh.
I would apologize for him, but I didn't do it.
It's just bad, that one. Come on. Very corny.
Yeet. Okay, so now that he's in the naughty corner, we're gonna move on to happier climes. Anybody read any good books lately?
On how to manage a site, a construction site. And I'm not even kidding. I'll get my binder.
Wow.
No, I'll show you my books. You
Did
asked.
did we lose Sam?
Yeah, his internet went eat or what?
Yep. They got him. They got him. Okay, so I don't know, dude. I've been looking at some of this American political stuff recently and the concept of tariffs and all that. And somebody was like freaking out about the idea of a 25% tariff between Canada and America and, and Mexico and America. And everybody's like, oh, no. And I'm like, that shit will never happen. We already have laws on the books. All everybody has to do is enforce the laws they currently have, and the tariff vanishes like a fart in the wind, and nobody gets tariffed. How about that? Nice.
This is the Construction Site Safety Comprehensive Guide.
Oh, yeah. Nerd!
Right, if you want to learn how to manage a construction site, these are the books for you. CITB.
Nerd.
Mm-hmm.
No, you'll be making the big bucks. That's safety, right? So
yeah, site management.
Here's the coolest part about working safety in general. Safety guys do almost nothing except get other people in trouble. So everyone hates them, but at the same time, they're the safety guy.
Yeah, you get about £3,000 a week as well, which is not bad money at all. I'm lucky if I see 2,000 a month currently, but I'm doing warehouse Christmas work until January. I should get me a little bit in my pocket.
I appreciate it, Moose. Much love, brother. Don't let the man get you down. I don't. I always have issues talking with most Brits about politics because of the distinct difference in the Overton window between the two countries. You know, because if you look at it from our perspective, when you're talking about an American conservative, you're talking about a person who believes in God, country, and 12 gauges. I'm just saying, right? So majority of the world is against that concept. The majority of the planet operates under some method of government that precludes your self-defense option. And I do not think that majority is right in this case. I think self-defense is first, and we can move on with the rest of the laws after that. So that's really the sticking point on the conservatism issue. When you go left wing, anytime you start giving up rights is how it's basically put down in the American method.
I'm all for everything you just said. I think that God is good, and I think that self-defense is vital, because I live in a country where they banned the because a caretaker in Scotland decided to use a smaller one that fits in your hand and go do up his primary school, his elementary school, and he was the caretaker of the school. So overnight, the government just said, every one of these in the country, if you're not a farmer, hand it in, or you'll be arrested. You're now a criminal if you own one. And you can't buy a knuckle duster. You can't buy pepper spray. You can't buy a taser. It's all illegal. But
And
what's
now-
not illegal is a pokey. So
Yeah,
that's why
but
all these
now
kids are.
only criminals have those.
I know.
And
Look at
so-
London. Look at Liverpool.
It's not that you can't get them; they exist. You can go get one. It's just that at the point you decide to do that, you're a criminal. At the point I decide to do that, I'm a customer.
Well, it's two groups of people who actually, you would think all of these are coming from Europe because we're right next door to Europe. All these ones on our street, the hand ones, the sub ones, they come from America to Ireland to Liverpool, or Ireland to Bristol, which is where I am, which are both, ports on the west of England, north and south. And that's how they get to London, is they actually come from America on a boat, get to Ireland, and end up in the UK. But it's only criminals that can buy it. But you cannot buy a taser, pepper spray, bear spray, mace.
Yeah,
You can't even buy a baton. Like what the police have, like a little, just
Right. And that
You
just
can have a
blows
baseball
my
bat.
mind, man. I mean,
yeah.
such a level of nanny state is downright embarrassing. In
I
my
agree.
opinion, it's silly. First of all, none of that's the government's purview in the first place. So, self-defense, self-establishment is your own problem.
Yeah, I think that it's just silly. I went to America and I thought it was good. Because obviously you need background checks and stuff, like in moderation, not like complete dictatorship of who gets what. But like if someone clearly has mental health issues, it wouldn't be a good idea as a seller to sell it to someone. But I don't think where it's like only farmers and police can have it.
There are legal ways to go about that stuff, and anybody operating in those spheres are either doing it legally, or they're a criminal. There's really no mid ground on that, and so the negative connotations of the criminality of the Second Amendment are so heavy that anyone who's not legally doing it keeps it on the way down low. Toe for life, baby. Welcome in. That's my baby daddy. Are you here yet, Samuel? Have you come from beyond? Nope. Okay,
Yeah.
so on with the show. I don't really know. I mean, like I said, the only way I know to deal with this globalism issue that is on every doorstep that we have is to offer them a counteroffer. Right? If global hegemony is the only outcome you will accept, I accept your terms, sir. Right? Let's just wrap it up with a constitution and call it good. I mean, how many states do we need? Just one more.
Just one more.
Yep.
What state's that?
Well, I mean, if you're going to leave the border open, we go to the next secure border, which would be southern Mexico, as my math puts it. And America's hat's been hanging around up yonder long enough. I think it's about time they start paying taxes.
I think that if you're going to pick any country to take as a 51st state, take Canada, so then at least you can connect Alaska. There's no point getting Mexico. I don't even speak English.
But we need somebody to build our palaces in Canada when we take it, so we'll take Mexico first.
Well, then you have two states, not one more. Yeah, I see.
Well, I mean, it'd be broke up more than that. I mean, chances are it'd be territorial or something like. I mean, look at what is it, Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico has been a province for like fucking 172 years or some trash like that.
Yeah, I don't get. So why are they a part of the United States, but they're not a state that can vote in elections? I just don't get it.
Right.
It just seems like an oxymoron.
All right, so there's a couple of different distinctions in there. You've got your American territories, which aren't even I mean, they're just over there and under the American protection, generally because there's a deep water harbor somewhere nearby, basically. Then you have your protectorates, and this falls under things like Panama. Some of South American nations are protectorate, but not actually a part of America. They don't get to vote. They have their own shit going on. We don't really get involved except for the CIA, and they do Banana Republic shit over yonder and that type of stuff. And then you have actual provinces, or what's the other one? Come on, chat. Don't fail me now.
When it comes to chat, I just want to say England population. I was going to say, if that was the UK's population, it's more like 70 million now, not 58. Forgive me.
Yeah, but England also has the like physical footprint of like South Georgia.
North Dakota is 4 times the size of the United Kingdom. You could fit 4 UKs
That's
into
what I'm
North
saying.
Dakota.
Georgia's
Yeah.
a pretty big state on the East Coast as far as East Coast states go.
Yeah.
That's one of the issues I've run into when talking to Europeans is they ask me if I've traveled, and I'm going to go, okay, so how do you define travel? I've been to the mountains and the sea. I've been to 9 or 10 different states. Oh no, you have to leave the country. Not in America, you don't. You can travel anywhere you want to go here. Does that make sense?
It does. Travel's travel. I mean, if you live in Alabama all your life, going to California is traveling in my eyes.
Yeah. And it's culture shock too. It's not just, there's all kinds here.
Yeah, some not very good. I know I wouldn't want to go to California if I was in Alabama. I'd say no. If like my culture, my life was conservatism, then I went to LA, I'd probably want to take what they're taking on the street too, and knock myself out.
I kind of feel that way.
It's like I wouldn't go to London willingly. The only time I've been to London in recent years was to go to the United States Embassy because you have to get your visa. I didn't hang about. The second I got the visa, I'm like, right, bus station, sit here, do not leave, get out. I don't want to walk around on my own with nothing but my wallet and mobile phone in London.
That makes sense. That's an intelligent decision.
I'm not trying to get robbed or poked. It's just there's no good that can come from it. I do love my city of Bristol. North Dakota is 1.4 times smaller than the United Kingdom. Well, you're full of it. That's not true at all. Give me a sec. It's 4 times the size of the UK, right?
North Dakota there's about 7 people in North Dakota, and they're all named Steve.
It's 1.4 times smaller. I thought it was 4 times bigger. I got told it was 4 times bigger. No way. Can't be. I thought it was 4 times the size of the. Wait, what state was I told was 4 times the size of the UK? I could have sworn
Texas.
North Dakota.
Texas 4 times the size of everything.
Yeah. I did not. This whole time I've been telling people it's 4 times bigger than the UK.
Well, let me put it this way. So, Wyoming is the 9th largest state in the United States, and it is 3% larger in terms of area than the entirety of the UK.
What? Texas is only 2.8 times bigger. Whoever told me that stat, I'm pretty sure it was my friend Andrew in the US. I've been telling people for about a year, North Dakota is 4 times bigger than the UK.
No.
Maybe it's England. Maybe it's England that's 4 times bigger.
Possibly, yeah. It's definitely 4 times bigger or more than Wales.
I was going to say this as well. When Caucasian were talking about travel, flipping, I can travel to a different country in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we can't.
I understand that, but I mean, it's kind of like states of the UK because it's nations, but they're countries within a country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in southwest of England in about 20 minutes if I had a car. I don't currently, which trying to get a small Fiat so I can get to and from and build myself up, because I've not had a car since 2022. I'd never got another one because I got hit hard with all the stuff going on over here. And 2022 was a bad year for jobs and inflation and all that. But I can get to Wales in 20 minutes. And I can see Wales from my back garden in England. And that's a whole nother nation with a whole nother language. They speak Cymru. They don't speak English. Well, they do, but it's the secondary language. Like you will always see Cymru language above English language. And they were allowed to keep the language. Scottish Gaelic basically got erased. And Irish Gaelic, even in Ireland, isn't heard of anymore. So, you know, I love the Welsh, but they're so socialist, but they're kind of leaning right now. So Reform UK is officially, like, in the polls, the biggest party in Wales, but every seat in Wales is Labour.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I look at I think Sasquatch has a point. What little I did catch while fighting with my goddamn connection to get back in here. I guess the shit internet hates jokes or something, but while fighting to get back in here, I was hearing this thing about, like, Europeans. The concern in talking with Europeans is that our idea of distances is skewed, right? When an American, like, for instance, driving across my state, is there?
Yeah, Shadow,
you're
you're echoing, bro.
Oh, I am.
Yes, sir. You're okay.
Yep. Okay. So to drive just across my state, right, north to south, is the same as say driving from. I'm gonna go from Brussels to Warsaw. You pass through like 4 fucking countries, but I'm still in the same state, right?
Yeah.
So, like this, and again, I might be off a little bit on the actual mileage there, but it's like Europe has a lot of small countries in it. We have a lot of states the size of countries.
Yeah. But I kind of like, you know, the EU, they want to be the United States of Europe. But the thing is with the US, their ideology is far more aligned with one another than, say, how the Germans think and the French think and the Turkish think and the Greeks think. And there's different languages as well. Every country basically has a different language. So it's completely different. I don't think there'll ever be a United States of Europe, but I think that's what they want to happen. And I wouldn't want to be part of the United States of Europe. But I think I love Europe. I don't love the EU.
You have to have rights to be able to set up something nationalistic along those lines. You have to have something to offer your citizens that they're willing to go along with it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people here would vote for the United States of Europe, but I think it would be like 30 or 40 to 60 or 70 in terms of joining. I don't think it would win the vote. If there was a second Brexit referendum, like a rejoin referendum, I would have voted leave if I could. I wasn't old enough to vote at that time. I think that they would rejoin the EU, but I don't think very decidingly. I think it'd be very close again. No more than 5%. But I think they would edge to vote to join it again because they want the economy to do better, and I think it would do more harm than good if they were to rejoin. But I think that people would rejoin. It's a strange one.
Yeah, I don't know that rejoining now would solve anything, especially given that the EU is on the verge of fucking total collapse as it is.
Yeah, because Germany's
when Germany collapses, when Germany finally finishes collapsing economically, and, like, you know, their government falls after that, like, they're the only thing holding the EU together. They go, the whole thing comes down.
If Germany falls, when Germany falls, all of Europe falls with it, and then there will be a massive just collapse in all of Europe. And obviously, our country would feel it has to do something to help, and we'd all go down with Germany.
Yeah, and that's you're going to end up with the Eastern European situation after fucking the fall of the Iron Curtain all over again, but this time in Western Europe.
I would say it would be worse.
Far worse, yeah.
Yeah, because of the way our global economy works. Look at food prices in certain countries and energy prices in certain countries over the Ukraine-Russia war, which, not getting into the politics of that war because that's a whole other discussion, but in effect, boiled down, it is a border skirmish. That is ultimately what it is. Two countries arguing over borders increased prices considerably for like cereal grains in the third world. You had massive energy shortages in places like Europe because of that conflict, because everyone in the world in some way or fashion is reliant on a foreign entity for certain basic necessities. Some places are net importers of food, some places are net importers of energy, some places are net importers of labor, whatever. The world system as it is designed right now is entirely reliant on all the pieces working together, the entire global economy functioning effectively. And if you remove pieces, sure, like Ganymede Station, there are fail safes. If one section starts to fail, then another section can pick up the slack. But we've already had some sections fail, like the war in Ukraine. And then, why is everyone muting? Am I echoing?
No. They were
I was typing.
doing something else.
If
Oh,
I
gotcha.
type, I don't want my mic to click.
Sorry, I didn't realize. I thought I was echoing again. My bad.
Did you just like smoothly throw in a reference to the fucking Expanse while talking about real world
Yes.
shit without actually
Yes, he
talking
did.
about how you were talking about the Expanse? Ganymede Station is fictional, dude.
Yes, okay, but the fall of Ganymede Station is a perfect encapsulation.
Right, but not everybody's
of
read those books or watched that series.
I was going to get to that.
It's
Like
pretty
Sam
much
pointed
just
out,
me and you,
I
dude.
brought up
Just me and you.
Ganymede Station from The Expanse. Basically, long story cut short, a human colony on the moon of Ganymede suffers a catastrophic damage in the form of, I believe it was one of its like biospheres being ruptured. This causes a feedback where it loses a source of oxygen scrubbing. There are other places within the colony that are able to account for that, but as those also become unable to operate due to the strain, they collapse, and then more and more of those fail safes fail under the strain. Same
Yeah,
thing.
they call it a cascade failure. Yeah.
Exactly. So we've got portions of our energy sector and portions of our food sector of the global economy due to Ukraine and Russia's conflict and all the embargoes and stuff, but there were other places that are able to pick up the slack. But if the EU fails, then you're going to have more issues come from the fact that the EU is no longer contributing to the economy. Other countries can pick up the slack, but not in the same way. And since we already have certain issues from other countries not already collapsing in on themselves anyway, it's eventually going to cascade more and more and more. You just need from there the EU to just kind of be in its stage of we're fucked, and then some civil war in Latin America causes problems, and then another Arab Spring hits in the Middle East, and then that just continues until Bronze Age collapse. 2, Electric Boogaloo.
I take it back, Sam. He's the one dragging down the conversation.
Oh, definitely.
I think if Ukraine doesn't end up joining the EU after this is resolved, if it gets resolved in a short while, I think that if it doesn't join the EU is going to have a hard time staying afloat. But I think if Ukraine does join the EU, it's like they have, oh, look at this. There's now this here. The Americans will pay more attention, even if they don't want to. And it will expand to Turkey, like Turkey have wanted for years. And I think they won't rest until all of Europe, and then some of that isn't even Europe, is part of it. But if they don't get Ukraine, I think that other countries will vote to leave. I think if another country is to leave the EU, I think the first will be Italy. I think the Italians don't like people
Italy's
flooding
definitely a
that
good
island.
candidate. Yeah,
Greece is
Italy's a
chomping
good
at the bit to
candidate.
get out.
Hungary, maybe Holland.
Greece.
And when I say the island of Italy, let me Lampedusa or something. Lampedusa in Italy. Have you heard about this island?
I have, yes.
Possibly.
Mate, if you search up Lampedusa, Italy, it's a island in the Mediterranean Sea. The amount of Africans that are taking boats to this island, and even under Giorgia Meloni, who's actually seen as a fascist or far-right leader in Europe, she doesn't do anything about it because she can under the EU's rules. And if she's the leader and people like her, and they're seeing the EU making this happen, that's why I think Italy would leave.
No, I think that's a fair point.
It all
Yeah.
falls to Ukraine if anyone's going to leave. If Ukraine joins, I don't think anyone's leaving.
Yeah.
Why exactly, out of curiosity?
Because it shows the EU has power and that it's expanding, and they're all for expansionism. I think if
Me too.
a politician under EU rule, even if it's in Italy who don't like what's going on, a politician under EU rule who's seeing expansionism and growth of the EU is going to get more pressure at home from its own politicians and from the EU if they dare speak out against it, because they'll feel they have full authority, and you would be a fool and you'd be left to rot if you dared even consider leaving. Like, even when we left, they wouldn't let us leave for years. It took a leader to be like, you know, we're fed up, and you just shut up and take it, or we'll leave without a deal. It took... We voted to leave in 2016. We didn't leave till January 2020, and it should have taken 2 years. So we should have left June 23rd, 2018, didn't leave until almost 2 years after the date we should have left.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let us.
Lepo, it wasn't Italy, it was Greece, and Greece basically begged to buy their way in because to have Germany, I guess, stake them the buy-in or whatever, because their economy they weren't almost bankrupt. They were on their like 7th bankruptcy. Their country was literally burning at the time, and they were in economic freefall. And the only thing that was going to save them was joining the EU, which Germany didn't want to agree to at the time because it was just going to bring down the price of the euro across the fucking board. But they ended up doing it anyway, which, surprise, surprise, it hurt everybody's economy.
Yeah.
But it saved Greece.
Though credit where credit's due, at least Greece did maintain its NATO payments. There may not be much of a country for that military to fight for, but damn it, the Greeks believe that it is their citizens' right to espouse their views that bankruptcy is bullshit, or that a failing government. I messed up the joke. I ruined the joke.
Here's the thing, kids. I know that they like to turn around and say things like, too big to fail about corporations and about governments and all that. But the fact is nothing in existence is too big to fail.
Nope.
Nothing.
I think the euro is the biggest problem for the EU because it's crashed multiple countries within it, and if there wasn't a euro, no one would have any stance or need other than, say, the political power of the parliament. But it's more the economy of these countries being forced to join the euro, or leaders not putting up a fight for it, that have actually caused the most issues, and that could be what crumbles it. If there was no euro and it was just sovereign nations trading with each other without parliament, there'd be no case for the EU being bad at all.
Yeah, because that would enforce competition. Wouldn't that enforce competition and force like independent economies to form, resulting in like net gain? Because correct me if I'm wrong. Like, isn't the EU basically just one large economy rather than multiple smaller ones?
It's a pooled economy. Essentially, it's a bunch of small economies that pool their resources together and attempt to kind of make it a large economy. But no, it's really just a bunch of small economies that are reliant on the hub economy, which is Germany's.
Yeah, which is failing.
Yes.
Yeah, the euro is. I never liked the euro. I like Poland because they're one of the few countries that actually say, no, we're not taking the euro. We'll be in the EU, but we're not going to abide by border policies. The only country in Europe doing it, and it's the only country in Europe that haven't had any T attacks. Like, they've had no bombers or mass pew, whatever. Because they say, if you haven't got a visa and you don't speak the language and you're coming to leave through the border, we'll just, we'll pew you at the border, and we have every right to do so. They're the only country in Europe that say that, and they haven't had any issues.
Poland is based.
Yeah, they have the zloty, which isn't the euro.
I mean, when you're the bulwark for Europe's civilization against barbarian savages and the Russians, you kind of learn that you can't play nice with people.
Not Loz. The EU is a large trading bloc, but that's not its primary thing. That's its selling point, but it's a political union.
Yeah.
I think we need to go back to just a little bit here, Cal. I think we need to go back. Define barbarian savages. Are you using this in a modern context, or is this another reference to the past? Because if it's the modern context, you need to be very specific about who you're calling barbarians.
It's on about the illegals that come over to drain the system and hurt people.
Yeah.
So that is one of the modern contexts. I'm referring to all of European history since the birth of Poland. So you could be, you could assume I'm talking about the Mongols, the Cumans, the modern illegals,
The
bad
Pakistanis.
Polish, Russians, Ukrainians, Cossacks, Ottomans. Take your pick. Barbarian savage meaning someone who does something uncivilized and doesn't speak the Libre Franca. Take your pick.
Yeah. Okay. nice wiggling that out of that one there, kid.
That's a very broad brush, brother.
Yeah.
I apologize for the information vomit. I can tell your eyes were glazing over a little bit, Callum. Sorry about that.
I'm not bothered. I'm happy.
It's like, yeah, it's fine. I wasn't listening anyway.
Great.
Very valid response.
Smooth brain. Nothing sticks.
Yes.
Look, the fact of the matter is just like you know, Europe is in trouble.
Yes.
They think I agree, Cal, that they're going to attempt to induct countries like Ukraine specifically because of the amount of grain that it produces, because that's all it produces besides corruption. They will attempt to induct that into like EU, more importantly into NATO, which is a whole other can of like, let's just blow each other up now and get it over with. But but I don't think that actually will save them. I think it's misguided to think so. I think that they'll certainly think it will, but I don't know that would necessarily bolster the economy so much as give it sort of like a false, I guess, lead, and then boom, the bottom drops out again. Because if they can't back their euro with something real, right, with like gold or something like fucking doesn't matter as long as it's something real. They can't back it with that. It's doomed to fail anyway. I mean, we're witnessing the same thing with the U.S. dollar, which is the global trade currency. There's a reason that BRICS is gaining ground.
Wouldn't also inducting Ukraine in have a similar problem for the EU's economy that inducting East Germany did in the immediate for West Germany's economy, where it's a very damaged, Ukraine is in the middle of a wartime period where they're just getting bombarded by artillery strikes. Their infrastructure is probably not going to be in a good position.
Do you know part of the reason Crimea was annexed in 2014? It was because the EU promised them they could join the euro and have security if they toppled their leader. They toppled their leader. The Russians got scared. No, it didn't happen. We said topple your leader and let's install someone. In 2014, the Russians said we don't like the West telling Ukraine to topple its leader and join this expansionist Europe. We don't like this. We're threatened by this. We're going to take this before it gets bad. So that's why this basically all started, is because the EU gave the Ukrainians false hope, and now we're throwing every penny and pound towards them, euro, dollar, we're throwing everything towards them so that these people can blow each other up until there's nothing left.
Yeah, I wouldn't dispute that. Not really related to the point of Ukraine probably would be more of a point. Like in the long term, if they had time to develop the economy, probably would be a net boon for the EU. But they're already on stumbly legs, and they'd have to bring in an economy that has been completely borked by conflict. The population of working age men is rapidly decreasing. The infrastructure is being keyed towards conflict rather than civilians. So you'd have to retire it all back. It would take a couple years before Ukraine starts being a net benefit, and they don't have a couple years. They don't have a couple of years to see a net benefit.
Ukraine has never been a net benefit. It wasn't a net benefit under the old Union either. It's a resources. It always has been. The only thing they've ever produced in mass that was worth a damn was their grain resources, which if this war keeps going, they're not going to have.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is this has been the plan since 2014, and none of this would have started if the EU didn't want Ukraine to be part of the EU. If that wasn't the thing, Ukraine would still have its corrupt leaders and whatever, and them and Russia would be all right. So the EU decided 10 years ago they want Ukraine, and they're going to have Ukraine.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to give up on it, especially after the Donbass, Donetsk, and Luhansk dispute, which was actually in the Minsk agreement where they went to Belarus. The French and Germans basically said these three regions that are being fought over now, they had an agreement, two of them. It was so good they decided to do two. Luhansk, Donetsk, Donbass are separatist regions. They speak Russian. They like Russia. They're part of Ukraine, but they speak Russian. They like Russia. Let them be a separatist region. It was only when Russia decided to put their military in the separatist region, and then they started doing this, that this conflict even happened. So it was Germany and France all along in 2014, and later on with the Minsk agreement that basically had this. They basically fueled this dispute, and you can search it up. The Minsk II agreement. I'm not chatting out my arse. The 2014 toppling of the Ukrainian government. I'm not chatting out my arse. This was all EU influence, and I don't think they'd give it up. That's why I'm saying they will crumble if they don't get Ukraine, because they've caused all this, and America won't forgive them. Europe won't forgive them. And they have no choice.
Yeah. I'm not disputing that they don't want Ukraine. I'm saying the net benefit might not be the salvation they hope it is.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, just making sure my point is clarified.
No, I agree with you fully. I'm just saying I don't see the EU being what they want to be if they don't get Ukraine after all this mess. It would really show that it's not fit for purpose. They've caused more harm than good. And all these sovereign countries like Italy and France with Le Pen are going to say, we don't want to be part of this political union. It's no longer a trading bloc. Let it dismantle and let's be sovereign nation states.
Right. Yo, Sasquatch, you still there?
Yeah, bud.
All right. So we're probably going to bring it to a close here soon. We've been about 2 hours and whatnot, and I've got a thing I got to go get ready for here shortly. But I do want to point out here that all this talk about European, financial politics has saved you from getting back into the brain organoids. We don't have time for that now today. So.
I don't have to think about growing human brains on circuit boards. That's freaking awesome.
So be grateful. Be grateful.
Damn right. Hell yeah.
But that was on the list of topics. It will be coming up before the end of the year. I'll just put that out there. I'm not going to tell you when exactly, but
I'll just know it's going to happen when you send me that invite. I'll be like, ooh, brain stuff.
Something to that effect. Anyhow, I do want to thank everybody for being here. And we're gonna go around the circle here and plug whatever we got to plug. Starting with Shadow of Hawk down in the corner there. What do you got coming up?
Hello, everyone. I'm the Shadow. Yeah, I'm the Shadow of the Hawk, and I'm back on the YouTube video creation. I've got some stuff coming up. The problem is there are certain topics I want to talk about, but I need more than 20 minutes, and anything longer than that doesn't like the algorithm. But keep an eye out on my channel. There will be
the Jews.
I wouldn't go there. No, actually, would I go there? No, I actually would go there. I would go there. I absolutely would go there, but not here. Not here. I wouldn't do it here. Don't want to take out Sam's channel. But keep an eye out for that. And then also, you can find me over on Twitter as Shadow of a Hawk 55. There I just kind of post, I do either schizo posting or general musings on the way the world is in the form of schizo posting. And I'm going to try to get back to work on posting stuff to my Coffee page where you can find original content written by me. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's scuffed, but hey, that's just me in general. You can find me on random shows like this one. Don't know why Sam keeps me around. You could also find me over on, say, Wheezy Pillar for his Sunday stream. I think it's, he rebranded recently. I think it's Politically Incorrect or something like that. And yeah, that's about it, really.
Yeah. To clarify, like I keep Shadow of Hawk around because he's my pal. He's my buddy. He's entertaining. And, not to put too fine a point on it, I keep him around for the same reason that Nick Fuentes keeps Destiny around. Moving past that. Caucasian Sasquatch. What do you got coming up?
I hate you.
So, hi. I'm Caucasian Sasquatch. I tend to interview people that have channels before they get big channels in hopes of perhaps having a big channel. And people sometimes tell me I'm funny. So I try to be funny and it doesn't really work out, but other people like it when it doesn't work out. So it works out in general for the channel overall. I run sort of a game theory concept for running a channel over here. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but at the same time, it does seem to work. So all of you people complaining, if you watch everything that I do and you hate me, you are also a fan, sir. Y'all have a lovely evening.
I mean, engagement's engagement, right?
Right? Exactly.
So, Cal, what do you have coming up? You got anything you want to plug?
I kind of very recently got rid of a lot of the stuff I did on my channel because I didn't like the quality of it, and I do have some stuff planned. Like I've been investing in it, so all these little portable mics where I can go out in public and talk to people and ask questions to the public. I have some ideas for some video essays and stuff I want to put together. I kind of lost motivation on everything because I've switched up my channel quite a few times, and I finally want to stick to something in 2025 and take it from there. I kept some of my best stuff up, and there is another BBC drama that's going on at the minute where they're trying to take down this host for just making jokes that they were fine with for 10 years, but they're more than happy to simply give Hugh Edwards, who was trading CP and actually ruining a young underage man's life, half a year's salary and protecting his identity. So that's a big scandal. And I just like talking about stuff UK that people like, they don't want to talk about because we don't want to talk about that, or that's not my place to say. I'm interested in knowing the truth, and I'll finally be going around the country and doing little like public things like that, and also doing some essays and documentaries like I've always wanted to do. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Always a pleasure to have you on. I know it's real late where you're at right now, so
it's December.
We do appreciate you. Yeah. Well,
so I can shake now. Because I did this for Movember, which raises awareness for men's mental health and other stuff, mental health related. So now that it's December, I can get the pube stash off my face. So thank you.
Yo.
You're looking a little Cary Grant there, I got to say.
Who? Harry Grant.
Cary Grant.
More hair
God,
than mine. Don't worry about it.
You guys are so young.
Yeah. Oh, Cary Grant.
Yeah, he's or what the Sasquatch? What was the name of the guy who did all of the old Robin Hood movies? Swashbuckling shit. I forget.
He disappeared to get pot roast.
Oh, of course he did. Yeah. Well, anyway, a lot of old actors had thin little mustaches like yours. It was considered debonair at the time. And yes, this would have been before my time as well. No, Chaplin was before that. And nobody liked that mustache. The only other person who liked that mustache started World War II, motherfucker. Anyhow, yeah. So it is what it is. I do appreciate y'all coming. As for my part, if Exile Linus 2 goes live tonight, I might be there. I have dinner plans with some friends here in a couple hours, so I will do my best to make it to everything. Otherwise, you can find me on Adam the Renaissance Nerds channel on Monday for Mellow Mondays, and then back over here to my channel, Samuel the Infamous, for Abyssal Musings next Friday. And then I believe Beelzebub is scheduled to be back next week on Beelzehub, Devil Made Me Do It's channel. We skipped it this week. And then back here for Screaming to the Void next week, where hopefully I will have Sasquatch present so I can torture him with brain organoids and possible consciousness. All that said, thank you all very much for being here and hanging out. Everybody over on Sasquatch's channel, on my channel, on Twix, on Rumble, we appreciate all of you guys. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. And remember, it could always be worse. It could be raining flaming cobras. Good night, everybody.